This is the Recovering Preacher's Kids podcast, where two sisters share their journey of growing up a preacher's kid and how the bumps in the road led them to the foot of the cross. And welcome back to the Recovering Preacher's Kids podcast. We are super excited that y'all are joining us on this new year, new beginning journey that we're on. I would like to say that Lisa and I are on, but whether you like it or not, we're dragging y'all along with us.
That's right.
You know, New Year's resolutions, they're so hard. And so it's really not about a resolution this year. It's about learning from women who have walked before us. And I think that in churches today, especially, well, let me say this, in churches of years gone by, a lot's talked about what the men in the Bible did. And, you know, David and Solomon and, you know, what all these like men did. And thankful for all of them, don't get me wrong. But as a woman, sometimes it's hard for us to kind of put ourselves in those shoes. And the Bible is littered with women that we can put our shoes in, and we can, or put our feet in their shoes and be like, oh, like we can learn the good, the bad, the what to do, the not what to do. And that brings us today to two women, and you can't talk about one without talking about the other. That would be like you can't talk about Lori without talking about Lisa, right? So we're going to talk about two sisters, Leah and Rachel. And so I have to confess that my entire life, I have held Rachel on a pedestal.
Me too. Me too.
I have said, poor Rachel, she was overlooked and she was this beautiful woman. And she, you know, had this man who loved her and she couldn't have children, and her father just did her wrong. And oh my goodness. And I had all this compassion for her. And then
You didn't like Leah.
no, I didn't like
I mean,
Leah
I didn't like Leah. Yeah.
I had her pictured as this pregnant heifer just walking around being like, check me out, sister. And so we added Leah and Rachel to our list way before we studied them, because, you know, Lisa and I talked and we were like, these are the women that we, you know, had new beginnings, that we saw as these women we could follow in their footsteps with new beginnings. And then we studied these women and then we're like, okay, wait a minute. That's kind of not what we thought. And Leah and Rachel are the same. These women are nothing like I had them pictured in my mind.
No, me neither. You know, when we talked about putting them on our list, you were like, okay, I knew, you know, what I've been talked about each of them. And I was like, okay, I know I can relate a little bit to Leah, but I want to be a Rachel. I want to be a Rachel, you know?
Mm-hmm.
And then
Yeah.
I got to study it. And before, I don't want to bust anybody's bubble, and I don't think we're not saying Rachel was a bad person. We're not saying that. We just
No.
learned a little different light. We just saw a different side for both of them and realized, I think, that we were given Rachel too much of the praise. We were given too much of the
we put her on a pedestal.
And we just pushed Leah off to the side.
So let me do a quick rundown of who Leah and Rachel are for people that don't know. So Leah and Rachel are introduced to us in Genesis. So there was this dude, his name was Jacob, who God eventually changes his name to Israel. So, you know, he's kind of important.
Yeah.
And so his father tells him, his father is Isaac. And Jacob was a bit of a deceiver. He was a twin. He had a brother named Esau. He deceived his brother from his birthright because Esau should have got the birthright. Jacob's mom loved him a little bit more. He was teacher's pet. And so anyway, his mom connived. They got the birthright. His dad's like, get out of here. You're not going to marry a Canaanite woman.
Because
Go.
his
Oh,
mama, because Jacob's mama knew, because her overheard Esau saying he was going to kill him after
yes.
the father died. So she had to devise a plan to get Jacob out of.
Get him out of there.
Yeah.
So. So, and just like our culture, his dad tells him to go to where his mom's from and marry one of his mom's brother's daughters. I'm just kidding. We don't live in that
We
culture
don't. I was
today,
like, where are you going with that?
but that's like legit what happened. Back then, they married family.
Yeah.
Okay. And so he goes and he tells his uncle Laban that he will work 7 years for his daughter Rachel. Now, I would like to pause right here for a minute. The Bible tells us that Jacob said he would work for 7 years. I think we overlook that. A lot of times I think we want to say that Laban sold Rachel for 7 years of work, but it really just goes to show the conniving spirit of Jacob because he was giving himself 7 years. You know what I'm saying? When you really think about it, he was buying himself 7 years protection at his uncle's house
Oh,
by
that's true. I
working
hadn't thought
7
about
years for,
that.
okay? It was, Laban didn't suggest that. Jacob did. So Laban goes along with it. Jacob works for 7 years. On the night of the wedding, back then when you got married, you were completely covered. The bride was completely covered. And so they got married. Jacob and his bride went and consummated their marriage. They wake up the next morning and booyah, it's
Hello.
Leah, the older sister. It's not Rachel. And so I have always been taught that 7 years passed, that Jacob had to work an additional 7 years for Rachel. But the study that we did actually says that it's possible and makes more sense that he ended up marrying Rachel at the end of the 7-day wedding feast.
I never thought about that. We were just led to believe he was married to Leah for 7 years, and then he was able to marry Rachel. But when we studied this, and because I was like, that's not what it said. And I went back to the scriptures and really read it that Laban just
Yes,
said, wait till the waiting week is complete.
correct. I had
Then,
always missed that.
me too. Me
And
too.
And so basically, he did work 7 years for Rachel, but they were married. And the reason that the study brought out that that was probably the way it happened was because why would Genesis talk about Rachel being barren and Leah having
Right.
these children if they weren't married?
Mary.
So, anyway, he ends up married to these two sisters, God love him. And Rachel, the younger sister, is beautiful. Like, her face is beautiful, her body's beautiful, like every guy would want her. Leah, not so much. They don't really know what set her apart, but Rachel was, I guess, in today's society, we would consider like she was the influencer of all influencers. Okay. And so, anyway, God sort of stepped in and he shut Rachel's womb. She could not have children, and Leah was just popping them babies out left and right. And anyway, it goes, and in the end, Leah has 6 boys, Rachel has 6 boys, and their
Wait,
servants have, well,
wait a
they
minute.
have
Rachel.
4. Okay, wait, I'm messing up. Hold on, y'all. Leah actually birthed 4 boys, and her servant had
Let's
2,
go back.
right?
Hold on. Let's go back and look. Hold
And
on.
then Rachel gave birth to 4 sons, and her servant had 2,
Wait a
which
minute.
made
Rachel
6
had
apiece.
2. Rachel
And the
had 2.
servant had 4. Y'all, I've
Rachel
got
only
myself
had
confused.
Joseph and Benjamin.
Okay, well, see, y'all, I'm so messed up. I got myself so confused. But her servant had,
A
oh
couple of
gosh,
sons.
the
Because,
the
see, they
servant.
ended up being 12 of them. That's
Yeah,
what
there
she.
was 12 of
12.
them. That's the point I'm trying to make. Y'all read Genesis. Don't be paying attention to me. Between these 2 women and their servants, there was 12 babies. Well, there was more than that
With
because
a
they
little
had girls
girl in
too.
there.
There's a little girl in there. But anyway, so these are the 12 tribes of Israel. Let's bring it on back. The Lord knows that I don't know what I'm talking about. Okay. So we're going to bring it on back. They had the 12 tribes of Israel. So the point that Lisa and I learned through all of this is that first and foremost, God was in control the whole time.
Mhm.
Leah, who felt like she was unloved, unwanted, uncared for, ended up giving birth to Judah. And Judah's is the heritage of our Messiah. Without Judah, Jesus would not be here. And so it is a beautiful thing that God used Leah, who felt so unloved. But the thing that I got convicted on, I can see myself in both of these women, both of them so much over and over.
Mhm. Me
But
too.
the thing I was convicted of as I studied these two women is that I put people on a pedestal without knowing all the
Mhm.
facts.
Mhm. Mhm.
And when Rachel gave birth to her first son, like that she gave birth to, she named him Joseph. And Genesis tells us that when she gave birth to him, she said, "Oh, now the Lord will give me more sons. Oh, that the thing, give me more sons." And I was so convicted when I read that because I see myself in her that I'm like, okay, thanks, God. Give me more. Give
Mhm.
me more. Give me more.
Mhm. That's not
And
enough.
I was like, oh, ouch. And when Leah gave birth to her sons, she would say, "Oh, that Jacob will love me now, that Jacob would love me now." But then Genesis tells us that when she gave birth to Judah, she said, she praised the Lord. She
Mhm.
said, "I will praise you now." And it's like Leah finally got it. And all these years, I've been holding the wrong, not that you should ever put a person on a pedestal.
Mhm.
That's not what I'm saying. But the point I'm trying to make is I have read Genesis so wrong because the one that I should try to walk in her footsteps is Leah
Yeah.
because
Yep.
she finally got it right.
Right.
And we
Right.
never really see that Rachel got it right.
Yeah. No. I had never yeah. I mean, this has been an amazing week of study for me on that because that was me. It was just like, I can relate to Leah as far as starting out because I want to be I want that attention.
I
I
want the
want to be
love.
included. I want to be loved. I want to be liked.
Mm-hmm.
And we moved around so much that just about the time I made a friend, well, it was time to go, and
Right.
I had to start over. And so there was that disconnect and not having that feeling of, well, I nobody likes me. So
Mm-hmm.
I started looking for those Rachels, watching
Ooh,
what they are
yes.
doing and trying to imitate what they're doing because, well, if
Everybody
everybody
loves
likes
them.
if everybody likes the Rachel, then and I need to do what they do
Ooh.
so that
Mm-hmm.
everybody will like me.
Mm-hmm.
So just like you were saying, what I got convicted of with Leah is that, yeah, I mean, she tried everything, and then when she got to Judah, she was like, "Okay, I got you. I know. I'll praise you. I'll focus on you.
It's
All
like
good things come from you."
she to me when I read that, what I read was her saying, "God, my husband may not love me,
Mhm.
but you are enough.
You're enough.
You are
Mhm.
enough."
Mhm.
And that's what I felt like God was screaming at me is like, "Lori, when am I going to
Mhm.
be enough for you? When am I
Mhm.
going to be
Mhm.
that fills that void in your life?" And yes, we God created us in his image and we have this yearning for love and for, relationships with other people. God made us that way. It's
Mhm.
not that we're not supposed to have the relationships with other people, but where I have gotten tripped up is that I want to get all of it from other people
Mhm.
and not save
Mhm.
any space for God.
Mhm. Well, it
Like
goes back to a little bit for me is because I can see, we can see
it's
this person.
tangible.
It's tangible, and
Mhm.
and we're placing our faith in something that we can't see. You know,
Exactly.
so I don't know how to explain it, but I got to
And
I don't know. I have to feel it. I don't know. It's kind of hard to explain.
okay, Can I butt
Yeah.
in?
Go back. Go
Okay,
ahead.
so like check this out, y'all. I was just like my mind was blown. I literally was the emoji with its head flying off when I read this part. So the study that we did on these two women brought out the fact that in Genesis it tells us over and over and over that Jacob loved Rachel.
Mm,
He loved her. He
mhm.
looked at her and he instantly loved her. They actually met at a well, and it says that he instantly loved her. But nowhere does it ever say that Rachel loved Jacob. But Leah loved Jacob. And so,
Hmm.
what I have realized in the deep, dark crevices of my heart is that I often pour myself into people that God has not created
Mm,
for me to have in my life. Maybe these people are people I can love on and minister and show Christ to, but it's not people I should give all level access to my life. God did
mm.
not create that person to have all level access to my life.
And
And
you say, sorry, I
I
don't mean to
miss,
butt in with you,
no, go.
because that is where I struggle, is because that's what we were taught, that
Mm-hmm.
as preachers' kids, everybody should have complete access to you.
Yes.
And,
And that's not
and
true.
that's not true. And that's why I think we've struggled and we've looked to the more of the Rachels instead of
Mm-hmm.
learning from the Leah. Sorry, now continue.
No, that's exactly where I was getting because I see so many times where I have been the chaser. I'm not saying Jacob chased Rachel, but y'all just follow
Right.
me here. Like, I've been the chaser of the influencer.
Mhm.
I want to
Mhm.
dress like them, talk like them,
Mhm.
drive what they drive, have the handbag they have, the husband, the shoes, the kids, when in reality, being friends with Rachel is not good for me
Mhm.
because she's continually causing me to drive to not be what God created me to be. But when I spend the time with the Leahs, who are the ones who have finally gotten it, the
Mhm.
ones who finally say, God, I'm going to praise you because God, you are enough, those people are the ones that speak life to me, that
Mhm.
speak truth to me, who are honest with me, even when it hurts my feelings, because as iron sharpens iron, they're they're loving me so much, they're willing to say, if you push me away, Lori, it's okay, but I'm going to call you tomorrow because I love you so much. I'm not going to let this go. I'm not going to let you willfully sin. And I'm realizing I've not surrounded myself with very many Leahs, if any at all,
You say,
because
go
go
ahead
ahead.
and finish. Go ahead and finish. I
No,
know.
I mean, that's just what I've not. I'm just being honest. Like, I've got a bunch of Rachels in my life, and I mean, they're
Mhm.
great. Don't get me wrong.
Yeah, they're
I'm not
great
saying
people.
there's
There's nothing
anything.
wrong with them. Yeah.
No, God, they love the Lord. I've got people in my life that love the Lord, but when I sit and think about who would call me and say, Sister, check yourself, that list is a little small.
Mhm.
I've got it flipped.
Mhm.
I've got
Mhm.
it flipped. What were you going to say?
Well, no, so you were
I
just
was going to say, you're going to hurt my feelings. I can
no,
feel it.
I'm not I'm not gonna hurt your feelings, because as you were talking, it's exactly the type of they're friends, they're not siblings, but, of Sam and Dustin's relationship. I was explaining it to you before we got started, that, I said everybody needs a friendship in their life like Sam and Dustin had. And
Yes.
because I could sit and listen to their conversations, and I mean, they had, like, really, I don't know how to describe it, because I don't wanna they had really different conversations, that,
Mm-hmm.
to me, I guess I was sitting here thinking they were sort of like the Leah. It was a different conversation they would have, but they were so honest with each other, and there were times that they would say something to the other one, and I would be sitting there looking at Sam thinking to myself, "That was just completely rude.
Yeah.
Where did you get that?" And vice versa. Dustin could say something to Sam, and I would be like, "No, that's just rude." And they both would laugh and go on.
Mhm.
Or I could remember Justin calling Sam out on something, and Sam would go, "Yeah, okay, all right. Yeah, you're right." And go right on. You
Right.
know, they were the Leah to each other.
Oh, yeah.
And that's exactly, I think, for the new year I need to really work on is quit seeking out those Rachels and let God put these Leahs in my life and learn from these
Or
Leahs.
or what if we take it one step further? What if we stop trying to be the Rachels and have all the followers, and we focus on being the Leahs that say, God, you are enough, and we lovingly speak truth to other women in
Okay.
our life?
Ouch. Ouch.
Yeah, that really just hurt my feelings. The Lord
Hurt
just
my
impressed
feelings
that
there.
upon my heart, and I'm like,
Yeah. So I guess y'all can
it
see
is
here that I mean we don't have it together. We've been
no,
preachers' kids now for what blah, 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 years. We won't say our
yeah,
age.
right,
And these Bible stories that we grew up on and we had a one-sided perspective of that,
yeah.
and this is a one example that we just have been looking at it wrong.
Because what I began to realize at the end of season one is I legit have looked at the Bible as stories. But
Isn't that
as you and I started getting into scripture in season one, and as we have begun season two, I've had to like really delve into the word,
mhm.
and it's caused me to change. I mean, God's word changes you. And it's like Daddy used to have this saying. He would say, "You can't unknow what you know." He'd be like, "Be careful what you find out, because you can't unknow what you know." And that's even so true in God's word. I can't
Yeah.
unknow these things, and it's like, and again, I'm not saying Rachel's a bad woman.
Yeah, no.
I'm not saying that, but what I am saying is, I
Mhm.
the person that I created Rachel to be was wrong. And the
Right.
person I created Leah to be was wrong. And how many times do we not accept people for who they are, and we create them
Mhm.
to
Mhm.
be someone
Mhm.
they are not? And then when they let us down
Mm.
with these imaginary expectations that they didn't even know about, we get hurt and we get mad, and then we don't want to go to church there or be in that group anymore or whatever, because so and so did XYZ and this person doesn't even know what we're talking about. Please tell me other people have done that.
Oh,
Please
yeah,
tell me I'm not the
100%.
only one.
Me. I do it, yep.
People people have legit let me down over unspoken expectations that I never told them. I place these expectations on people, and I've come to realize I've done it with
Mhm.
people in the
Yep.
Bible.
And both these women are very important to the the whole entire Bible story, the whole story of
Yes.
plan of salvation. They both have very important roles in
Yes.
these. And like you started out talking about, there sometimes we can focus only on the men, and that we chose the women because these women had very important roles in the
Mhm.
story of the life of Jesus. You know,
Yes.
we wouldn't have um, Joseph going to Egypt to prepare for
Mhm.
the famine if we didn't have Rachel. And then we
Exactly.
wouldn't have Judah for the Messiah to come from the tribe of Judah without Leah. So they're
Exactly.
both very important women who both had issues, that
Mhm.
had hurts, who had their father put them into an impossible situation with each other. Because if
Yes.
we're completely honest, as siblings, we do have rivalries no matter what. We're always in
Absolutely.
competition. And their father put them in a situation that for a lifetime they were constantly going to have
Rub each other.
rub
Yes.
each other. And it was a constant struggle for attention from one man.
Mhm.
So, they both were both put in a situation like that. It's just the fact that I always gave more leniency to Rachel
I did too.
and not Leah. And like you say, out of this, it's been several lessons that we talked about of what we learned.
Mm-hmm.
And like exactly like you said, God, you're enough. And that's hard for me. I struggle with that
It is me.
because I want one more thing. I want
I
one
do
more.
too. It tells us that when I I can see Rachel giving birth and literally getting what she wanted because she had wanted this a baby of her very own. And I started thinking about times in my life that I've prayed and I've asked God for something and he has legit given me exactly what I wanted down to the color, whatever it was. And then I was like,
Okay.
eh, okay, next. And I just have been so convicted with these two women that I am nowhere near where I thought I was. Like, God continually shows me that I think I have jumped over like hurdle 40 and we got this Jesus follower thing down. And God keeps saying, sweetheart, you've not even left the running
Sorry.
blocks. You ain't even jumped over the first hurdle. We ain't even leaped in the air yet. And I'm thankful that he keeps
Mhm,
me grounded and he keeps bringing me back and he's showing me so much. But it hurts.
mhm.
It
Well,
hurts when you keep falling.
I mean, and I guess going off of that, I mean, did you notice that what we both learned out of here at separate times? Because we did not discuss what we learned until we started getting ready for this podcast.
Yeah.
That what what we had thought the direction we were going to go when we planned out the season 3 months
The,
ago of how what we thought what
the,
Leah and Rachel, what we thought we were going to learn and how we were going to say, this is what we got from this, and this is
yep.
how, a new
Yep.
beginning from them is not
Mm.
at all
Look,
what we got
God,
out of
when we put Eve on the list,
it.
learned something totally different.
Totally different.
We put Ruth and Naomi on the list, learned
Learn
something
something
totally
different.
different. Here we are, Leah and Rachel, and I ain't gonna lie to y'all. I've been looking over this list, and I'm like, God, I think I know these people. And God's like, you don't know nobody.
Nope. Nope.
You don't know anybody.
Mm. I guess that goes
I
to show
just,
you could grow up in Sunday school all your life. You can be a preacher's kid for 50 something
mm-hmm.
years. And it goes to show you that you think you know. How the story goes. I am bad
Yeah.
about reading scripture and I've heard that one. I've heard that verse and I just keep skipping.
Next.
And this is a prime example of when I've stopped and read it and studied it, thought to myself, I had that totally backwards. Totally
Well,
backwards.
to kind of springboard off that as we wrap up today, I do want to leave y'all with a final thought about Leah and Rachel. Because when the story ended, Rachel
Mm,
actually dies giving birth to Benjamin. And Jacob loved her so much and gave her such a beautiful burial. Her tomb, he wrote on her tombstone, I guess you could say, what does it say? The Rachel's burial,
let's
I
see. I'm
forget
looking for it.
exactly how
Where we
it's
to go?
worded.
Let me flip
Um,
over here. Hold on.
but in her
Anyway,
death, you see he loved her so much. You know what I'm saying? He covered her death so beautiful. Rachel's tomb.
yeah.
Isn't
Okay.
that what
Yeah.
it is? I think
Yeah.
he put like Rachel's tomb,
Here, yeah. Because yeah, she gave birth. They were in Bethel.
which is
With
Bethlehem.
this is Bethlehem. See, that's something else I learned.
Interesting.
I know. So she's buried over her tomb. Jacob set up a pillar, and to this day, that pillar marks Rachel's tomb.
Okay. So beautiful. It shows his love for her. But Jacob's life start comes to an end in Genesis 49, and he kind of is charging everybody around verse 29. And I can't say these words, so y'all just bear with me. But he tells his people, he says, I'm about to be gathered to my people. bury me with my fathers in the cave that is in the field of Ephron the Hittite, in the cave of the field of somebody. I wouldn't even know how to begin to say that name, but he's going through talking about where this land came from. And he said, it's in the land of Canaan where which Abraham bought along with the field from Ephron the Hittite for a burial site. There they buried Abraham and his wife Sarah. There they buried Isaac and his wife Rebekah. And there I buried Leah. The field and the cave that is in it, purchased from the sons of Heth. When Jacob finished charging his sons, he drew his feet into the bed and breathed his last, and he was gathered to his people. So, as much as he loved Rachel, Leah was the one that he was buried with, and Leah was the one on his mind as he died. And so it's a reminder to me that even when I feel overlooked or I feel unloved, I'm seen by a God who sees everything.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And when I think nothing I do matters, God says everything I do matters. And I hope that as I would like to challenge everybody to really dive into Leah and Rachel, because I promise you it will shake your tree. It will change your view of these women, and it even changes the gospel to me,
Mm-hmm.
because
Yes.
it just means
Yes.
something different now.
Totally different. Yes. So, I mean, as you're reading it and you go back and you say, "Well, yeah, I see what they're saying here." When after you listen to the podcast, give us your comments under the video.
Yes,
Tell us what you've learned, what God showed
please.
you.